There are growing questions surrounding a worker's murder inside a Georgia State prison over the weekend.
Investigators say an inmate managed to get a gun inside Smith State Prison and then killed the kitchen staffer before turning the gun on himself.
Trapped within the walls of a cold, unforgiving prison, a man with a long rap sheet of brutality and death. He once proclaimed his love for this woman, but now brandishes his gun toward her. At 5 a.m. on Sunday, June 16, 2024, the lifeless body of Aureon Grace, a devoted Aramark employee at Smith State Prison, was discovered. The perpetrator? Jaydrekus Hart, already serving time for voluntary manslaughter in Carroll County, Georgia. As the investigation unfolded, it was revealed that Grace and Hart had a personal relationship, one that would end in tragedy. Authorities also discovered a suicide note left by Hart, leaving more questions than answers. How did he obtain the weapon? And how will her family cope with this sudden and senseless loss? Even in the midst of unimaginable grief, Grace's colleagues and loved ones remember her as kind and pure-hearted. She touched the lives of those around her, bringing joy with her laughter and love for food. As friends pay tribute and mourn her passing, they offer prayers for her children, who are now left without their mother. Heartbroken by this tragic event, Aramark is cooperating with investigators as they seek to understand how this could have happened within the walls of their facility. They join in mourning the loss of their colleague and extend condolences to her family. But no words can fully capture the impact of this loss. The void left behind by a woman whose life ended too soon at the hands of someone she trusted. We grieve for Aureon Grace and all those who knew and loved her. May she be remembered for the light she brought.
About how that inmate managed to get his hands on a gun behind bars at one of the state's maximum security prisons and then use it. The Department of Corrections still does not have an explanation for us tonight, but we've since learned that the kitchen employee killed early Sunday morning was just 24 years old. The Georgia Department of Corrections says inmate Jaydrekus Hart shot the Aramark food service worker inside Smith State Prison in southeast Georgia early Sunday morning. She's been identified as 24-year-old Aureon Grace. The prison says Hart then turned the gun on himself.
That, to me, is shocking to the conscious, and I hope that this is a wake-up call for the Georgia Department of Corrections.
Joshua Schiffer has practiced criminal law in Georgia for 2 decades. He says this incident demonstrates a complete failure by the Department of Corrections leaders.
This institution, Smith, is a notorious institution because it's a high-security institution dealing with some of Georgia's most dangerous and threatening inmates.
Back in October, investigators say an inmate there shanked 42-year-old guard Robert Clark to death from behind. Earlier last year, the GBI charged the prison's warden in a sprawling contraband conspiracy. Hart was serving time for voluntary manslaughter and aggravated battery from a 2015 case out of Carroll County. His earliest release date would have been 2043.
This wasn't a shank or a piece of wood or a razor blade. This was a firearm with ammunition, and everybody needs to realize how dangerous this situation was and how indefensible this death is.
The entire state correctional system has been under a years-long federal investigation into allegations of civil rights abuses. The state legislature just formed a committee to review it from top to bottom.
This example is an unfortunate reflection of what's happening in Georgia prisons as a whole.